He says go. I think that means action. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Daily Blip, otherwise known as Daily BLP, the Business Line Podcast Daily Edition. I'm your host, Brian Collins, and I've got guests with me today. Just go around the horn and introduce everybody. To my right here, maybe to your left on camera, I don't know, is Jamie Bryan, our manager here at Panacea Smart Solutions, also my quasi-executive assistant, formerly full-time executive assistant, but the more she takes over in the building, the less she organizes me. But thanks, Jamie.
You're welcome, Brian. Hello.
Jamie didn't know she was going to be on today, but I caught her earlier this morning. I said, hey, there's some stuff that you do a lot of that we're in the midst of right now. I want to bring you on and make it a topic for the show. So that's what we're going to do. Other guests joining us from the Zoom hotline are our marketing manager, joining us from our India office, Manish Singh. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, Dan. I'm doing good. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Haven't seen you in a few days. I got to say I missed you. And also joining us from Colorado, from the high altitudes, Matt, Pivot Studios Dugan. How you doing, bud?
Doing good, Brian. Doing good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Always good to see you guys. Hey, we missed Monday and Tuesday, not necessarily on purpose, but when duty calls in business-related things and we're not able to record, then that's what happens. So it was kind of a perfect storm of me traveling to some meetings that did and didn't happen, and it just kind of bumped things out. So that's okay. We're back here. It's Wednesday, March 19th?
19th.
March 19th, episode 15? Wow. They're piling up quick, Matt, Manish. We don't have our friends Manoj and Piyush with us today. I think Manoj, somebody, they thought it necessary to give Manoj some time off. I don't know. I wasn't asked about that.
Oh, heck.
Nah, just kidding. He needs it. He works hard. I think Piyush is doing some project work, and so he's underneath a bucket load of work. Declan is with us today doing production. We don't have a camera and mic on Declan because Jamie stole it. But someday we'll get him a mic and a camera. But he's switching the cams and making sure audio is firing on all cylinders. So should we get this thing started? We got some fun stuff to cover today.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's talk a little bit about the last few days since we talked on Friday as far as internal business-related things that Panacea is doing. I had some meetings that I went on, some discovery meetings for IT services. Monday, that one got canceled on my way out there, right?
Yeah.
I had this weird feeling in my gut that I'm going to drive 2.5 hours to a meeting, and they're either going to have forgotten or changed their mind, because this one was booked out probably about 3.5 weeks in advance, which is
A little too far.
a little farther out than I like, but sometimes it's necessary. So I called you quick from the road and said, hey, can you call these guys and confirm you did? And you're like, yep, you're in. And then you're like, nope, you're not.
Nope. Yeah, secretary said good, and then I called. He's like, hey, sorry.
Sorry, but not sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. We got you back in the office for the day.
Yeah, I've been that guy before where someone's scheduled a sales meeting. Even they've caught me at a time when I'm excited for whatever they have to offer, and then it's out 1, 2, 3 weeks, and I just get buried in a bunch of stuff, kind of lose that excitement in the moment, and it's got to go on the back burner. And then I keep pushing, and a lot of the times I just never end up because it's less of a priority at that point.
Yeah. Well, and then they start calling and they get me, and I just tell them no.
Right. It's interesting because there's two sides of that, and I guess it's whoever you are from a sales perspective. I think the moral of that story is try to book a meeting when the urgency's high, when the excitement and the emotions are high.
When the emotion's there.
Right. You find that true, Matt? Have you noticed that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, that connection and really just getting that emotional connection is just super important in all facets, 100%.
Yeah, have you done it to where you've been like booked a meeting there? Oh, this is gonna be a good one. I like this one, but it's like a month out or something, and you go to do it, and then it's like,
yeah, it's kind of it's interesting though, because I feel like with those meetings that are the ones you schedule a month out,
yeah,
those are the ones like 80-90% of the times that ends up getting rescheduled. I don't know. That's what I always find too, is the ones when you really, really push it out or it's very long. And I think a lot of it is because people just forget that that's on their calendar, and then they get busy and then they're like, oh crap, that meeting with Brian is today. But yeah, that's what I've noticed too.
Yep,
yeah,
for sure. That's one of the things too. And sometimes that's just the luck of the draw. You get someone that's interested in what you do or excited for what you can offer, but they just don't have time to get with you. And if you can't figure out a creative way to get on their schedule, to take advantage of the excitement, then it fizzles.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and from a standpoint of the buyer, sometimes that's a good thing because then you don't end up, buying maybe something you think is an urgent need at the time that's really not important.
Yeah. One thing I've found that's actually worked for me relatively well, and this just goes back to what we were talking, I think maybe a few weeks ago, just always bringing value and wanting to bring value, especially when, someone's paying you, is like a week or two before the meeting. I like finding like an article that's relevant to them and saying, hey, Brian, saw this article. No, we have a meeting coming up in a week. Thought you'd really appreciate this, looking forward to the meeting. So not really just emailing them to remind them, but emailing them, bringing them some value, but then kind of subtly saying, hey, excited for this meeting in a week. So that's one thing that I've found has worked for me to kind of remind them, but also bring that value and not just like, hey, meeting, remember this. That's a really good point. And I agree with you there. I've tried to kind of work that in, but I always forget to do it. I think making that a part of the process, if for instance, let's say any meeting that's booked out further than a week and a half or 2 weeks, which is generally a pretty safe time frame of not forgetting and things, then have it be a part of that to say, okay, a couple days before, what's something that we could look up that would add value to them in the moment. Nothing big, take a lot of their time, but then trip the trigger in their head that says, oh yeah, I'm meeting with this guy. What a nice guy. I'm glad he reminded me because I would have forgot.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
and something that pertains to them.
Hey, I saw this and it reminded me of you. I saw this article about this and it reminded me of you. I think that's a great idea. Good point. Mm-hmm. Very cool. Anyway, had a meeting yesterday. It was really good. Drove out to Beaver Dam, which is about an hour from our office. It's crazy that we can get to Beaver Dam in an hour now. Yeah. I know nobody that's not from Wisconsin listening to this makes any sense to them, but where we are on the lakeshore in Sheboygan, there's a highway that went to a town about the size of us called Fond du Lac. It used to take an hour to get to Fond du Lac because it was only 2-lane it was 4-lane highway up to about 10 miles out, and the rest of it
55 through
was
the farms.
55, and you would get stuck behind a tractor. And this isn't a back road. This was a state highway, but it was still just a 2-lane, one way there, one way back. You get stuck behind someone in their in their tractor or whatever, and you can't get around them because there's a lot of traffic on the other side, and they got those big honking wheels, and you got to hope that the next turn is their turn. But even if then 55 miles an hour, for 35 miles or whatever, it turns into an hour trip by the time you get out of the town and back on the highway and stuff. So now it's 4-lane the whole way, and you can just cruise to Fond du Lac. It's only another 30 minutes to Beaver Dam, so that's not bad. It puts Beaver Dam in our radius, and I would say up until that happened a few years ago, they weren't in our radius because it would have just been too much of a pain to get out there.
Yeah.
So I had a meeting out there with a company. Arsenal, Bob over at Arsenal set that up. Really good opportunity. I don't want to talk too much about them because I don't necessarily want to give them away. And we just had the first meeting, and they might not be comfortable with me talking about their business, online on a show. But really cool looking business. We've got another client that's similar to their business, but these guys I think have just been around a little bit longer, and they're a little bit bigger, and they've got newer facilities, and they got multiple locations. I think 3, and they have their location, building access, and even grounds access is restricted by fencing. Like you can get in, but to get out, someone has to let you out because they have a lot of stuff in their facilities. They don't want you to walk away.
Anything out.
Yeah, and but it was really cool, really nice environment. People were really nice and welcoming when I got there. Had a really good conversation. Their situation in particular is, they're kind of they've been with the same IT support strategy for about 30 years with an internal person and an outside company more recently, and they're just not getting the response, and they're not getting whether it's response time to needs outside of those IT people's circle. Like the IT guy only talks to the IT company, and they just kind of talk together, and they do whatever they kind of want, and they don't let the rest of the team members know, the employees that have to interact with the network. So there was a situation with an upgrade recently where it broke things for a whole day and ground the business down to a halt.
Whoa.
And
That's no bueno.
it wasn't necessarily that the work that they did was bad work, but it didn't work. A lot of the times when you're updating things for an organization where there's a lot of moving pieces that interact with a piece of software, it doesn't work. Like, so you have to have an immediate rollback plan to say, okay, we're going to switch a button at 7 a.m. before anybody gets in. When they get in, their stuff should just work the way it's supposed to, because that's what the updates that would happen. Sometimes it doesn't. So you have to be able to have a kind of fail switch that says, boom, didn't work, going back to normal, in 5, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And then nobody's mad, everybody's fine. The other part is you got to let everybody know what's going on well in advance.
Yeah. Even us, we get the notices from the team the nights that, updates are going to happen and blah, blah, blah. And if I'm not paying attention, flying around like a maniac, and I come in the next morning and something's weird, and then I'm like,
What happened? I can't predict.
start just screaming.
And usually because we weren't paying attention to the team talking to us. And sometimes it's just we were at the time and we forgot it was going to happen. And then Ken or somebody or Mike comes around, hey, we're rebooting the firewall. Firmware upgrade. I'm like, no, not yet. I'm in a meeting.
Give me 10 minutes, I got to save.
But that's those are the kind of things that happen. So some situational things there. It's not an immediate kind of thing where they're looking to change their situation right now. They've got to be smart. The person that, the way they get things set up is they don't want to throw anybody under the bus or treat anybody badly. They want to be fair, but they also want clearer expectations and better results from their support. And if that can come with their current situation, they'll probably stick with it, which that's good. But if it doesn't, then we'll make sure our process is in place over the next period of time here to get a deal to them. So they're going to take the approach. Recently, we changed our approach for sales of IT, and we're working on this for other services too. As our normal approach, which works fine, but it ostracizes, I think, some people that have a different timetable for making decisions. Our approach is. Lead comes in, have a discovery meeting, week later, do a network assessment, week later, present a deal. Either there or we like to bring them here if they're close enough. And that can work good, but it takes 3 weeks before they get a cost.
No.
Most of the time people are pretty patient because they understand we can't give them a legitimate quote without knowing them really well. The other option that I'm giving people now is the idea we got from our arsenal is we do the discovery meeting and then I say, hey, we can do this one of two ways. We can do the way I just explained, or I can take this information, which is the basic info I need to give you a service, a general service quote for what it'll cost for us to just provide services, not like licensing and all this hardware and all this other stuff up front. That way you guys have a good baseline to know if we're in your wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And so I'll take all this information, I'll put it into our agreement calculator, and it'll spit out an agreement and send it right to him. So he has an agreement. I said, we'll honor it. And when you're ready, if that's 6 months from now, we'll honor that agreement. Because here's how it works. That agreement is contingent upon us, after they sign that proposal agreement, going in and doing a post-proposal network assessment.
Yeah.
So then we find all the things. Because usually you meet with someone, they say, I think we have 11 computers. Yeah, put down 11. And you get in there and you find out they have 13 or they have 9.
Or they have 25.
And if you've already done a network assessment and then you start with them, you give them a quote, the price is locked in, and then you say, oh, we found a couple more. That's not cool because they gave you the chance to find the right details.
Yep.
With this other way, it's opposite. So we're just starting that. We'll see how it goes.
Yep. And
the website that we've kind of got that on, if anybody watching this ever wants to check it out, just go to Panaexperts.com/start, and it'll take you to a self-guided sales meeting with me talking a lot. If you don't want to listen to that, great. If you do, go ahead. And then there's buttons below where you can customize an agreement or schedule a time or do both. I talk about that in a self-guided sales meeting. The idea is watch the video. I'll give you an idea of what you're going to do when you start to look at that agreement. You're not agreeing to anything unless you sign it, blah, blah, blah. And yeah, so it's there. It's live. The team got it going. We got to make a couple tweaks to it, but other than that, I think it's good. So the automation is built to where when someone fills out that web form, it gives us a notification with all the information. It goes into Zoho Sign, auto-populates an agreement with all the right pricing, does the calculations, puts the 3-year term based on today's date, and sends them the agreement. So I'm pretty excited. We put a lot of hard work into that, right, Manish?
Yeah. So basically, every thing is ready on that page. Form is working,
Yeah.
and the only thing is pending is like in video we have some tweaks. So we want to make it like interactive video so people can engage and listen because that's a 10-minute video. So that's not a 2-minute video. So watching a 10-minute video is a task.
Yeah,
It's
I
a
watched
weird
it.
time. Yeah.
I watched it up there yesterday. I like what you guys. I sent Manoj a message. I love the edits. I love kind of those putting in those stock little video pieces and with good timing. And then there's the title. There's a title issue, and then on the back end, I want to put an animated logo thing. But I like what you guys did. What I would like to do as we tweak it moving forward is get some video footage of our people doing that kind of stuff with a nice high quality camera and lighting, and then have that injected into the video instead of stock stuff, because I think it lends a little more credibility when it's our people. But yeah, I think it's looking good for sure.
I agree. For that, we need to, capture some shots in US office or technicians working on the real site.
Mhm.
So that we can integrate those clips in the video, because right now I don't think we have something like that. That's why we are using the stocks.
Yeah, we don't have anything good like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have some stock camera footage photos because we had Deanna do that, but she hasn't been in a couple of years, but I don't think she took any video.
No, and we didn't really have anybody heavily working that day that she was in here either. We were just pretty much doing it.
But this is a good segue into our next segment that I wanted to, and one of the main reasons I wanted to bring Jamie in, not just because she's awesome, but because we're hiring. I think we're always hiring in our India offices, Manish, right? I mean, we've got over 100 people that work on our teams over there, and once you have that many people in your company, there's always a bit of churn. Someone's always kind of taking their next steps or moving on in their career or whatever. So, we have a whole HR staff over there that's constantly interviewing people and making sure that we at least have, paperwork in somebody's drawer to pull somebody out and say, let's try this person.
Yeah.
But we've got, over the last year, we've lost some positions due to people either wanting to move on or certain clients that we have that those folks were working on those projects. Things didn't work out. Mm-hmm. Or some people just being jerks and saying, I'm leaving. And then it happens. But we're hiring. That's exciting. And you're kind of the mastermind that we always say, hey, we need more people. Let's find them. You're working with Manisha over in our other office too, to be able to wade through and do some footwork for you, I think.
Yeah. She's going to kind of take the opposite end. I put the job descriptions out there. This is what we need. She's going to dig in from the back end and start looking through resumes that are out there and available. And
cool. So from a posting a position standpoint that people can find, where all are we putting things?
Job Center of Wisconsin, ZipRecruiter, and Indeed, and on our social posts. And I'm going out to the job fair at the local job center afternoon.
Wisconsin Job Center here in Sheboygan. So you're going to be there and set up a little table. Are you bringing the booth?
No.
No, you're just going to do the
I don't have the muscles to set that thing up by myself. It's huge.
We got muscle in the office. Cool. That's exciting. I think that'll be cool. So we're doing it for social. It's on Facebook. It's on LinkedIn. Are we putting it on X as well?
No. Where'd you put
Manish,
it?
where all are you guys posting stuff, Manish, in general, when you guys are pitching social stuff?
For job, I think we have posted only on LinkedIn because that is very relevant for the job. Yeah, but definitely we can post it on. I think we have posted on the Facebook and Instagram, but we haven't posted on X. We can post on X also, yeah.
I just had audio processing here again, but I just had this idea. I think it would be cool to do come up with a funny idea for a short video and do a TikTok job posting.
Oh, jeez.
Right? We could. Yeah. What if we did? What if we did we made Manny do a Bollywood dance or something? That would be good.
That's just personal entertainment.
That would be good. It's fun because when we drive, we went to Chicago the other day, and we took his car, so he had his phone synced up to his stuff, and when we weren't just blabbing about stuff and talking, he had his music going on, and it's so funny because I've been around him enough over the years now. I can tell, I don't know the words when it's all in Hindi, but I can tell like India pop music from India Bollywood music. Can always tell when because he loves to listen to like music from Bollywood movies.
Yeah.
And I can always tell him like, this is from a movie, isn't it? He's like, oh yes. I'm like, I could tell. I don't know why I could tell, but I could just picture a bunch of people dancing, you know, and it's like at a wedding or it's like, you know, in you know, the King's Court or something like that. Because it seems like every time I come across like a trailer or a movie scene from a Bollywood movie, it's always like 100 people and it's choreographed and they're dancing and you can tell one's a prince and one's
what do they call that here? Flash mobs?
Kind of, yeah. Yeah, it's the same as, you know, like Broadway shows or musicals here.
I used to love musicals when I was a kid. I'd watch them all the time with my grandparents.
Oh God, I hated musicals.
Loved them. Well, I'm a girl.
Yeah. I mean, besides like when I was a kid, Disney movies, like all their cartoons back then, they were all musicals until Pixar came around. But I mean, I like them now. Honestly, I like them. Like I don't get to do it very often. The last time I went to like a live show was quite a while ago. Declan gets to go quite often, a couple times a year to local things because the groups get together and do things. But it was years ago. I think it was before we even had kids. I think it was 2009. My mom and her husband were living in Minnesota downtown, and we went there around Christmas time and visited them. It was a couple weeks before Christmas, maybe right after Thanksgiving. And it's really popular there. They do A Christmas Carol at, I can't remember the name of the live theater down there, but it was really cool. Like when you get in front of a show and like they're so dang talented and like they can all sing and they can all dance and they can all act, you know, it's like, wow, that's really cool. It's fun to see that live stuff. But anyway, we digress. Let's talk back about hiring. So we're hiring what are we looking to put a button seat for? What kind of people are we looking for?
We need a medical receptionist / assistant.
Okay.
For one of our clients, that's the virtual role.
Yeah.
But
they work here in our office. They get their own space, but it's like they're running a clinic, but they don't have to be in the clinic around the sick people.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a bonus.
Everything except for doing vitals and rooming patients, they would be doing.
So clinical experience is a plus.
It's a huge plus. Even just somebody with really good reception, customer service, and understanding of privacy laws that can catch on to things quickly. The processes, we have got them all documented now. So it's, it'll be a fairly seamless transition getting them in. And the gal that's on site in North Carolina has been amazing the last few weeks.
Really?
I've been really impressed with, how much weight she's taken off of what I expected to kind of land on me.
Like, the audience doesn't know this, and Manish and Matt doesn't know this. We didn't talk about it, but we knew for the last year. We always, from our looking through the lens of, our feedback from our previous person in this VA role, we were always kind of led to believe that the person on site wasn't cooperative.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what do you think now?
Yeah.
Do you think it's by necessity that she's involved in more, or that they clashed?
I think that it was a personality clash, unknown expectations, unknown who's supposed to, whatever, even though that communication should have been instilled in them when the thoughts, whatever. Yeah. I think it was really just
it's almost a territorial
personality thing. I mean, I thought some of the same things when I, was in person there. But again, this other person was still in the background doing all those things. So, who knows? But the last few weeks have been pretty.
She's been really involved and like helpful.
Yeah. And she has taken on pretty much everything that, is not
we needed her
still being done remotely
before, right? Because what had happened was for the last year is that our VA here, and we saw a ton of improvement in her professionalism and her ability to do this type of work. I think she was pretty organized. We did a poor job of like documenting her process along the way, but I thought she was doing really good. Now the problem is it was always a conflict between the on-site staff and her. And when I listen to it, I kind of remember back the conversations having with our VA in this position, when I look back at those conversations, I can see now instead of what I thought was our person right, their person wrong, our person being territorial and like taking on so much. And it's almost like maybe the person on site there was like, fine, do it. I don't want to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very possible. But in any case, it's been great.
So I think it's a bit of a blessing. As much as you've had to work your keister off.
You know, everybody's pitched in. You know, the team in India has been fabulous with kind of picking up those, you know, back office things, confirmations, and following up on appointment requests and, you know, those things. So it's been a huge group effort. But I know we're really kind of excited to get the seat filled again. And now that we know a little bit more about how things can work more cohesively going back.
I think we learned a lot.
I think we did.
And having to like, oh my God, this person just up and left with no notice really. Well, sort of, but they were going to stay and then they just disappeared.
Bye.
But it forced us to organizationally get involved and know what's going on as opposed to just have a good person there who figures it out and does a good job. And then we just, okay, they're never going to leave. They're always going to be here. It's always going to be set.
Yeah.
We learned that the hard way.
Yeah, we did.
I always have to learn things the hard way. Like someone tells you don't touch the stove and you touch the stove anyway. Right? Okay, so we got to fill that position. That's good.
Yep.
And we have some prospects.
We do. I sent out a couple of, voicemails to resumes I got the other day. But it's been a very interesting couple of weeks with job posts out there and
not getting a whole lot of in, right?
No, and what we are getting in, I think I do a pretty good job at putting out there, you know, what the requirements are, what level of education, all those things. And, you know, I've gotten people that have like never worked outside of being a cashier at a gas station.
I think people see those things and they're like, I want to do that. I don't know how. I've never done it. I want to do it now. I'm going to apply.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes it's like just throwing your hook in the water and hoping something bites. Sometimes you get those, right?
Yep.
Find a good person.
Have
You're desperate.
to too. Actually had a little bit of a chat with the gal at the job center the other day. When I posted, since I'm going to the fair today, I posted the openings on the job center website.
Yeah.
And I've got a couple of emails with the resumes. And one of the messages from the email said, Wisconsin unemployment makes me do this. I'm employed in Michigan.
Oh, so they're getting a Wisconsin unemployment check, but they have a job in Michigan.
Yes. And construction worker. My husband is seasonal. It doesn't work when it's too cold.
Yeah.
And if you choose to file for unemployment, if it's going to be anything more than 12 weeks documented, you still have to do a job search.
Yeah.
So I did this for Tom years and years ago, and it's been a long time since he's had to claim it over the winter. But, you still apply for relevancy and whatnot, and there are certain things you have to do. But I would not in a million years have sent a resume to somebody that, like, there's no way in bejeebies, and you don't do it fraudulently. I hate to say it, but that's, to me, that is abuse of the system.
Well, it is. It's
you don't.
I don't even know if it's a loophole. You're just flying under the radar. Someone eventually is going to see that. Yeah. Like, because what happens is if I'm in Wisconsin, right? I'm thinking this again. If I'm in Wisconsin, I get laid off and say I'm in seasonal work. I get laid off. It's going to be more than 12 weeks. I've got to register that. If I want my benefits, I got to keep looking for something. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I'm gonna take a remote full-time job in Michigan or another state. Your Social Security number is still tied to that state now. Getting income from that state, taxes are still coming out. Of your income from that state. And when you're employed, the federal, all this stuff is documented, and all that has to happen is, Wisconsin has to, I don't know how it would happen. Maybe they just never look to see if you're getting income from somewhere else. I have no idea. Yeah. Or as long as you're not working with someone registered in the other state, I guess, doesn't have to report to Wisconsin. That's something Doe's federal. It's not state, but I would be like, that's some stuff that maybe some local state, because I bet you the same kind of stuff that goes on a federal level goes on a state level.
Oh, yeah. And I was advised to if I so chose to. I
Report
was
them.
given the website, and yeah, she's like, or if it turns into, she did give me another option. She said, instead of just letting them send the resume, like when they send it, send them back this link to go directly to your site on the Job Center of Wisconsin and make them apply there.
Okay.
Because she said then people that are doing this just to get their 4 applications a week in 10 minutes have to actually go through some work, so they're less likely to
do that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But it's the same thing on the other sites, though. It said a lot of people that aren't qualified or obviously aren't reading it. It says it's on site, in office, and I've gotten applications from all over the country. Yeah. And outside of the country as well.
Yeah, like I say, this is a in the office, non-remote. I think we get some remote pings because it says it's a virtual. I actually changed it to just medical receptionist / assistant. Yeah.
But yeah, it's been very interesting this go round. Even with the medical, the biller, looking for another US-based medical biller.
Coders, we're looking we got to pay looking.
Certifications required, this level of education, and it's still all over the board. So it's been fun to read things and read through, but we got a fun surprise out of it yesterday.
Oh yeah, that's what I was going to say. So I've kind of been soft looking and just keeping my eye open for people in and around that could have experience, because a fit, because I want to bring in a marketing assistant, and train them in sales and marketing, possibly. Basically, what I'm trying to do is find my clone.
Mm-hmm.
Whether they're male or female, I don't care. I need to teach them the ways of, I'm not the master, but my ways, because it works, at least for us and what we're trying to do. And because same thing with other, top leadership in the company, we're trying to clone ourselves so that we can free our time up to do the next things.
Yeah.
And so this business can run effectively and honestly better than what we can do, because I hold it back. As much as I love doing what I'm doing, I'm limited. I need to find somebody that can do what I can do it better, so get better results. That's hard to do. So, I'm looking. So like I reached out to somebody that I saw was relatively local, went to the same college I went to, studied marketing, didn't have a role. So I reached out to her on LinkedIn. I'm like, hey, are you still, because it said, the little looking for work thing on LinkedIn. Are you still, yep, still looking. So I hate doing LinkedIn messaging because I always forget to check it. So I bet you if I checked it now, she probably responded 2 days ago because I sent her the message last week and I forgot to even look to see if she responded. She responded the same day, but I didn't get back to her till on Monday, and then like you said, we found kind of possibly a diamond in the rough, because this person mistakenly applied for, was it a biller role?
Yeah. So the job sites will, give you a recommendation. Oh, you might be a fit for this. Oh, you might be a fit for this.
Yeah.
And depending on where you click, when you click, sometimes it will just apply you when you click it. And I had called her. So when I looked at it, I'm reading through and I'm like, marketing, sales. Hey.
I don't see any billing.
Hey, but I know me, I know you, I know what we need. And I was like, hey, B. Sent it over to him, and he's like, well,
let's check it out.
Give her a call. And I called her, and she's apologized at first. She's like, I didn't realize what the job was. It wouldn't let me look at the full description. She's like, I'm really sorry I don't have experience. I was like, that's okay.
Should have asked with her. How dare you?
Because I think this was supposed to happen. So she's coming in to chat with you on Friday.
Cool. So I'm excited to learn about, her experience and if she could bring something good to the table for us and if she's interested. So that would be good. That'd be good. But I still think I want a marketing assistant on this side, someone that can work more closely with Manish and the team and be hands and feet here in the U.S., because I'm the hands and feet here in the U.S. and I'm not always available when they need me. Sometimes you guys will send me a message. I don't see it till later in the day, or email, or, hey, I need you to read through the copy on this blog or this script or something.
Yeah.
Declan's not going to be always available to produce, and sometimes the other team isn't. So I want somebody that has some aspirations of video production and audio production and marketing that way too. So we'll see if we can get somebody that can do that stuff for us. So that's exciting. We're hiring. Hiring is not easy.
No.
Neither is firing.
No, it is not.
But
and even then, we've been through it a couple of times now too. We find somebody, we talk to them, we think they're kind of great, We go to look into references and call past jobs, and they're not always so great.
Here's a fun story. Well, we can change the names to protect the innocent. How long it was? This is almost 2 years ago now, right?
It was
You know
shortly
exactly
after
what
we
I'm talking
moved
about.
into this.
You know exactly what I'm talking about.
Who could forget
So-
that?
So I started the background check process probably later than I should have, but Jamie internally here over in the US was one of the first less than 10 people that we ever hired. And I started the whole background check process with the executive assistant position, mainly because I knew you're going to have access to things that eventually, are pretty high level, at least for us. And so I was interviewing you and one other person, blah, blah, blah. That's a story for a different day, but that's a fun one. But this one is different. So from then, we started using a certain company to do background checks, and that's fine. But we needed to hire a U.S.-based scribe for a client that required a U.S.-based scribe.
And we need it
Very
fast.
And the plan wasn't to never do a background check. We were just going to get to it. We thought we found a good person. This person had worked for a previous scribe company. She had training, someone that we wouldn't have to spend a whole lot of time with in the front end. We had our leadership staff in India, Haider and Sakib. We had them do testing and interviewing, and had her do mock kind of trial process stuff to see how well she would do scribing. And they said she's okay. She's not awesome, but she's not terrible. Let's go with her.
Yep.
And because we could train her up and get her ready. And we're like, okay, we get her all the other paperwork, the tax paperwork, all that stuff. She signs, blah, blah, blah. And we send her, right? We sent her
the link to authorize the background check.
Yep.
And she did do it because I get a little ting every time somebody does anything, and she
did it.
Authorize it. It wasn't coming back.
It wasn't coming back. All of it was, because what happens is we can check through on this. It's called Certain, CERTN. Again, not a sponsor, but hey, if you guys see this and you want to be a sponsor, hit me up. So it's called Certain. They've been great for us. We can select the type of background checks we want. Like and you can do state, federal, we can do international, we can do all these things. Just kind of ticks the box, and maybe costs a little bit more. This person was Florida. And so we checked, got to do it, state, local,
US
state.
criminal base.
Yep, criminal base, in the state that she lived in. And so some of the stuff was coming back totally clean, but one of them wasn't. And we're like, we've seen this happen before. I think it happened with you.
We called customer service, and they're like, oh, sometimes in these smaller counties, it just takes a minute for somebody to hit the button or whatever.
Okay, we're probably good.
Get her rolling.
So she gets started, right? So she's doing her training. She's getting going. Had she been assigned to the client yet?
She had. She was doing the shadowing, and they were just getting to where they were transitioning from the shadowing to her just being solo.
Was this before Matt? We hired her before Matt, and then we found Matt after her. Was that right?
She was after Matt.
Well, she was after
yeah,
Matt. Okay.
Matt was
Matt was gone.
Amazing.
Yeah, Matt was amazing.
Yeah.
I
Matt
hope
should be a doctor by now.
He might be, at least maybe a resident or something. But anyway, this person started working, and one day I think I just came into work, and you're like,
hey.
I got some news. Actually, before that, she started to show some true colors, right?
Yeah.
She is not very
of buckiness as to like our team in India, Cracker Jack. I mean,
they're amazing.
They shadow for 3 days. By day 4 and 5, they're doing 50%. By day 6, 7, 8.
I will say
yes,
100%. Because of those guys, and they've been with us quite a while now. They weren't always in those positions, but they worked their way up into those positions because of Haider and Sakib and their personalities, and they run a tight ship. I'd say out of all of our products and services that we have, it's probably the best when it comes down to the set process. The sales cycle is short, relatively. They do a really good job of jumping in. We've got that process of boom, 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 boom through the trial, set up, boom, and it's like one of the most dependable processes. Yeah, because and it's because of them, because they stay on it like really hard. But anyway, they weren't getting along.
Yeah, she didn't understand why they wanted her to be solo so quickly, and she, wasn't wasn't comfortable, didn't think that she was being understood in her concerns and whatever. It was a few days of back and forth. And
And
then
we ended up letting her go, didn't we? Or she left. Which one was it?
she left. She ended up not signing in one day. And that was the exact same day
That
that
you
we got
got the background check back.
that background check came back.
So what were the results of that portion?
Involuntary manslaughter.
Yeah. Can you believe that, Matt?
All I got to say is you were talking about the one previous team member named Matt, and I just got to say that guy's got a great name. So I just
An amazing name.
yes.
It's actually short for Matthew. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
I don't know if that's you too, but maybe you guys have that in common, some synergy. Yeah, he was amazing. But
He was.
back to the story.
Yes.
I've never had anything like that happen before.
No,
so
so I was mind blown. It's like, wow, why wouldn't somebody disclose
because they don't have to,
this?
I guess. I don't know
That you're going to
HR
have
laws.
that background check done.
You're gonna find it.
Like
I think they just roll the dice,
maybe.
and we don't know the nature of what she did, but like you just don't know, and you can't ask, and it
No.
doesn't say in the reports exactly what happened, but it was conviction, involuntary manslaughter. She was pretty young. I'm gonna speculate it could have been maybe a drunk driving or something, intoxicated, hit somebody, unfortunate accident.
Yeah.
But even then,
Yeah.
You know.
Can I let me, if I can, ask your opinion? If they were to have disclosed that before and then you find out, are you a little more like, okay, they're honest and you're a little more willing, or what do you think in that?
We actually had that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, well, yeah, if somebody would have been upfront and forthcoming, and that's the nature of the human being themselves. You know?
It doesn't disqualify. It wouldn't have disqualified her from the type of work she was doing.
No, because it wasn't a financial crime.
Yeah.
It wasn't
It wasn't
a
a-
privacy violation
Yep.
crime or anything that would have directly affected her role.
Yep. Yeah. So typically that kind of, and this is me personally too, I lean on the side sometimes to a fault of, I want to give people a chance. If you show me that you're hungry and you're hardworking and I can depend on you, I'll take the hit on some past things that were bad decisions and give you a chance to rock and roll moving forward. But just don't make the wrong choice. If you've learned from those things, you won't make the wrong choice.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie was very conservative with her explanation of her attitude, I would say, because I sat in on some of those conversations and heard some of the recording conversations and saw some of that back and forth, and it was borderline super disrespectful. It was someone that didn't care that she had someone that was her senior in these positions, like literally trying to help her.
Mm-hmm.
But she was very combative and wanted things her way or the highway. That's the sign of an immature person in my experience. If you're a member of an organization or a team and you're just coming in, for the most part, your job is to do your job
And be coached.
but listen, learn, and be coached. And kind of, I struggle with those things when I was in my 20s. I got fired from my last nonprofit role because I wasn't allowing myself to be professional enough to sit back, learn the personalities of the other people who had been there a lot longer than me, even though I do believe they were wrong in their plans or what they wanted to do that was affecting what I was supposed to be doing. I could have handled it better. I was immature. And this person, it was kind of very much of, I'm a victim. It's everybody else's fault but mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think long-term that wouldn't have worked out anyway.
No.
But no, to answer your question, Matt, I don't think that would have disqualified her from, we definitely, there's only so much you can ask in those situations. What I definitely would have done is probably done another interview, focused around those personality traits and maturity. Just questions where answers would tell me, okay, I wouldn't say, hey, you got in trouble. Are you still a troublemaker? Or you made a bad decision. Do you typically make bad decisions? I'm just going to ask questions about, these kind of things. So there might have been a little bit more of a filter applied, but not from a standpoint. I wouldn't have just said, hey, this automatically disqualifies you.
No.
Because, honestly, a lot of people don't think about this. Someone might hear that and say, well, that's not fair. You should always give someone a second chance, no matter what. You shouldn't filter, or shouldn't be harder. But here's the thing. Whether it's this company, in the US, we have about 12, 13, 14, 15 at any point in time employees. In India, we have 100, 150, sometimes more, depending on projects we have. Every decision that I make, or that Jamie makes, or that anybody who hires anyone makes, puts everybody's well-being at risk in a company like ours.
Yeah.
Because it only takes one person to make a bad decision, either maliciously or accidentally, to blow down a house
Break
of cards.
something.
Because we've built a good business. There's a good foundation. We have good income. We've done it with no debt. We've done all these things right. But in our world, it doesn't take much of a mistake for everything to fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
So I take our team members really seriously. I take their emotional status. I feel like, once they're here, they're important and they matter. But what I don't do is I don't like to set up a situation where any one person can hold the whole thing for hostage. Once I start to get that type of attitude, then it switches. So we have to be careful.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. Anyway, it matters. Everybody matters. And if we hire the wrong person on emotions, I don't want to upset this person, let's bring them in and give them a second chance without vetting properly, and they do something and we get sued and we have to close the doors. Now 15 people don't have jobs in the US, and maybe 100 to 150 people don't have jobs in India. So it matters. It definitely matters. And you can't just make shoestring decisions because of feelings all the time.
True. But then there's also that, wasn't going to hire somebody and ended up deciding that they were pretty great anyways.
That was you. Jeez. Okay. All right, let's make it about Jamie. Yes, we'll tell the Jamie story. We're almost out of time. Actually, we're probably past time. Maybe we'll edit this down a little bit. This is worth it. So there's two people for the role, Jamie and one other person. I don't remember her name, but what I do remember about her is she was the daughter of an executive in the town we were located at the time, in Manitowoc. She was the head administrator of the big hospital. And when I realized that, I was like, I was putting together the pieces like strategists typically do. Well, if I hired this person, she's interviewing well, seemed to have some good experience, office management and stuff like that. But she was a little awkward, so that was strange. Wasn't like, even in the interview. I mean, it can be nerve-wracking, but she just seemed a little off. But when I found that, I was like, man, that could work. And then still did the interview with Jamie. Jamie interviewed very well, but Jamie didn't have a mom that was an executive, right? So we look, like, I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just trying to be honest. When you're in business, you look for connections to the next deal or a big deal or something, because getting an account like a hospital can be a stepping stone to big things for a company like ours, right?
Huge.
So,
Huge.
but I did background checks, and her background check came back with a lot of stuff. And even before the background check came back, God love my wife, anybody I bring in, she gets their name and she like watchdogs them and she looks them up in the county court system. She looks everything up. And so she sent me hey, this person, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. The person was, unfortunately, a victim of her own undoing, making a lot of bad decisions. She had, misdemeanors, and then she had, felony charges for stealing from companies she worked for and stuff like that. So that, again, that was God saying, hey, no, you got to hire this other person. She may look like a hippie, but she's going to be really good. So it turned out okay.
Match made in heaven.
Yep. Cheers. So that's about it. We've used up a lot of your guys' time. Thanks, everybody, for the show today. No Doge. We'll come back with Doge tomorrow. They've been up to a lot of good stuff, I think. We'll dig in and see what kind of shenanigans they've learned about and saved us some more money. So it's been a great show. Thanks, Jamie, for joining us. Thanks for bringing up to speed on hiring and the fun of doing that. And hopefully soon we'll have some people here sitting here that are new members of our team.
Yeah.
Because that's the goal. So thanks, everybody, for joining us on the Daily Blip today. Have a great day. We'll talk to you guys tomorrow.